Welcome to Toastmaster Time, the show that's got everybody talking. My name is James Jeffley, and I'm excited to be the host for this edition of Toastmaster Time. Just as in a regular Toastmaster Club meeting, we'll have prepared speeches, followed by an evaluation to give our speakers feedback to help them improve. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our evaluator for this edition of Toastmaster Time, Adrian Chofor. Adrian, welcome to Toastmaster Time.
Thank you, James. It gives me great pleasure to introduce two Toastmasters from the Pittsburgh Speakeasy Club. Tonight, we will have Monique McCoy. She will deliver a speech entitled, Say Yes to Purpose. And we will also have Susie Quesada. She will deliver a speech called Scorpions in My Room.
Wow. Purpose and scorpions. That sounds like an amazing combination. I look forward to hearing your feedback later on. Right now, I'd like to introduce our first speaker to the show from the Pittsburgh Speakeasy Club, Monique McCoy. Welcome, Monique.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. Is this your first time on Toastmaster Time?
It is.
You excited?
I am.
Cool. So how long have you been a member of Toastmasters?
A little over a year now.
A little over a year. Why did you join Toastmasters?
I've always wanted to take a public speaking class, and it just felt like it was the right time.
The right time. And what have you learned from your experience in Toastmasters?
I've learned how to speak on my feet.
That's an important skill in life.
Yes.
Have you found that useful in your professional career?
Yes.
Great. And you also want to do something with public speaking a little later on as a career. Am I correct about that?
Yes.
What is that?
Motivational speaking.
Outstanding. Such a great thrill to be able to impact lives through speaking. Are you ready to give your speech?
I am.
Outstanding. I'll give you a moment to prepare, and I'll tell our audience a little bit more about Toastmasters.
All right.
Toastmasters is an organization that helps people get over their fear of public speaking, improve their public speaking and platform skills, as well as their leadership skills. We do that through a variety of educational programs with manuals that focus on different aspects of delivery, from organizing and writing the speeches to body language, vocal variety, etc., all to help people become better speakers. And one of the ways we help people become better speakers is through evaluations. And we've got an outstanding evaluator with us tonight, Adrian Chofor. Welcome, Adrian.
Oh, James.
So tell us about Monique's speech and what are her objectives?
Monique's speech is going to be about Say Yes to Purpose. She's working on project number 10 from the Competent Communicator Manual, Inspire Your Audience. So her objectives, 1, to inspire, and 2, to meet the needs of the audience and touch their emotions, also to avoid notes.
Excellent. So I look forward to hearing her speech and your evaluation of it.
Thank you.
Monique McCoy, say yes to purpose. Say yes to purpose. Monique McCoy.
In 2016, I never imagined that I would be a published author in 2017. And it wasn't because I didn't know I had the gift of writing, because ever since I was a young girl, writing has always been the only way I knew how to express myself. I wrote about everything. Boys, my dreams and aspirations, boys, of course, my thoughts and fears about life. I even wrote about the time my sister and I took the bus all the way across town, stopped for ice cream, and made it back home before my mom realized we had left the house. That was our interpretation of playing outside of the house. But a published author? I thought about it, but I'm just a customer service representative. My day consists of taking well over 70 calls a day and telling sick patients how to prepare for their exams. Where would I find the time to write a masterpiece, something actually worth reading? You know what they say, you're at work more than you're at home. You see your coworkers more than you see your family. So I decided to take this writing thing and put it on the bucket list amongst other things like bungee jumping and traveling the world. In 2016, I began a lot of self-development. I started asking myself questions like, who are you and where are you going with your life? Mark Twain said it best. He said the 2 most important days of your lives is the day that you're born and the day that you find out why. It was through that discovery I realized your passion leads you to your purpose. And what is passion? It's that thing that keeps you up at night. It tugs at your heart. You can't stop thinking about it. Another person describes it as the activity that makes you forget that you have to eat and use the restroom. In other words, I can write for hours and hours at a time and nothing else mattered in the world. But where would I find the time to write this masterpiece? I knew that even the greatest authors had to have started somewhere. Surely they once had a job just like me. So I wanted to go to a place I was guaranteed to find anything I needed to know: Google. Famous writers who once had a job. It turns out Mr. Stephen King was once a janitor. He wrote his first novel, Carrie, which later became a movie. His inspiration came while cleaning the girls' locker room. And then there was Mr. Ken Kesey, who wrote One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which also later became a movie. His inspiration came while working the night shift at a mental hospital where he spent hours talking to the patients. And last but not least, one of the greatest poets of all times, Mr. Langston Hughes, well, he was once a busboy at a local restaurant, and he would often write poetry on napkins and would later be discovered by a famous poet who would dine at the restaurant and come across his work. I thought to myself, we often say that we are pursuing our purpose, but purpose actually pursues us. What is purpose? It's that inner calling telling you what you should be doing all along. I thought to myself, could it be that purpose has been pursuing me all along, just as it did those authors? It pursues you everywhere, in the car, at the grocery store, and even at work. I was reminded of all the times that my purpose pursued me, because often when times got slow around the office, I began to write, and I would write, and I would write. And over time, many short stories were born. There was Strawberry Sunday, a short story about me and my grandmother's shopping excursions to the mall. We would shop till we dropped, and we always found our way at McDonald's to share an ice cream sundae to share the sweet part of life. There was also Road Trip, the short story about me and my father's life and the many lessons that he would teach me while riding in the car. Purpose has been there all along. So what do you do when your passion leads you to your purpose and your purpose pursues you? You have to say yes. When you say yes to purpose, you unlock the door to your destiny, the path that was laid out just for you. By simply saying yes, there's nothing that can stop you. Not lack of time, finances, credentials, nothing. The right doors will open. The right people will cross your paths. You just have to believe, and you have to make up your mind that purpose has priority over everything else, and everything will fall into place. So how did I become a published author? I simply said yes.
Wow, wonderful speaker, wonderful speech.
I really enjoyed that speech, James.
Mm-hmm.
I have to tell you, she was very inspirational.
Mm-hmm.
There were things that jumped out at me. For example, passion leads to purpose. Mm-hmm. That is so true. Mm-hmm. And we see how she's living those words. Her passion was writing. Mm-hmm. She just thought it was a hobby, something she had done as a child. Mm-hmm. But yet, she realized it's a passion, and she is doing something with it. She realized it's her purpose.
And I love the way that she turned that around and said that purpose also pursues us. Yeah. And so in her research for some of those different authors, finding that, well, they had day jobs too, and they kept at it, and they kept at it, and they kept at it. So in a way, that was her pursuing her passion, but also her passion and purpose pursuing her through that. And you're right, she was walking her talk.
Yes, it was keeping her up at night.
I could definitely see her being a motivational speaker telling those kinds of stories.
I agree. I look forward to hearing more speeches from Monique.
Outstanding. Well, we're going to take a little break right now. You're watching Toastmaster Time. We'll be back in a moment.
Name an effective political leader in history who couldn't speak well.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
There aren't any.
Because when it comes to a disease...
Freedom requires leadership, and leadership requires oratory. You have to speak to be heard.
I have a dream.
It's all about personal growth and guts.
Never give in. Never, never, never.
Welcome back to Toastmaster Time, the show that's got everybody talking. My name is James Jeffley, and I'm excited to bring our next speaker to the table, Susie Quesada. Susie, welcome to Toastmaster Time.
Thank you for having me.
Is this your first time on the show?
It is my first time.
Wonderful. So 2 newbies to the show. This is not your first time in Toastmasters. Well, it is, but you're not a brand new Toastmaster. How long have you been involved in the organization?
For about 4 years now.
4 years. And what have you learned? What's your greatest lesson so far in those 4 years?
Besides learning to articulate and communicate better, I've also learned how to listen better.
Oh.
Which has been really helpful in my day-to-day profession.
You know, that's such an important skill. I mean, we talk about Toastmasters, we think it's all about talking, but we also help people learn the value of listening. And that's an important life skill.
Very true.
You're going to give a speech about scorpions?
Yes.
Ooh, that sounds scary.
I hope it's not too scary.
We'll find out. You ready to give your speech?
Yes.
I'll give you a moment to prepare, and I'll tell our audience a little bit more about Toastmasters.
Great, thanks.
Toastmasters is an international organization. We're in 142 countries around the world. We have about 345,000 members and somewhere around 15,000 clubs. If you want to overcome your fear of public speaking, improve your platform skills, as well as your leadership skills, chances are there's a Toastmasters club in your neighborhood. You can visit toastmasters.org to find one near you. I want to welcome back to our show our evaluator, Adrian. Welcome back.
Hello again.
Tell us about Susie's speech and her objectives.
Susie is working from the New Pathways program. She's working on the effective coaching path. She's working on Project 1, and it's evaluating and feedback with an emphasis on vocal variety.
Ooh, and as a coach, right, it's important to learn how to give feedback, right, because you're giving feedback to the people you're coaching.
That's right.
But the added twist of the vocal variety, that really can make or break a speech.
I agree, so I'm looking forward to hearing how she manages to do that in her speech.
Outstanding. Susie Quesada, Scorpions in My Room. Scorpions in My Room. Susie Quesada.
She bent down to pick up what she thought was a hair tie from below the hotel bathroom sink. And she was stung by a scorpion right on her hand. This is the story that my friend told me the first morning of the Women's Presidents Organization annual conference in Phoenix, Arizona. We were visiting from California, and scorpions are not commonplace in California. I made a note to myself, when I get back to my room, check for scorpions. The conference was a 3-day conference, and it was filled with women business leaders, founders of businesses, and women entrepreneurs. So I decided to go to the first breakout session. This was called Lessons I Learned at Harvard with Professor Linda Applegate. At this session, we learned a case study about a very well-known company that you might have heard of. This was a company that was having a lot of challenges and struggles. And it was a 4th-generation family business who overcame these challenges and became a leader in their industry. I thought to myself, this is something that I can take back to my company. At the end of the session, Professor Applegate mentioned that they were offering 2 scholarships to the Women Presidents Organization attendees at the conference. I went back to my room, I checked for scorpions, And then I sat down and I filled out the application. Why not? I went to many more amazing speakers at this conference, and the next day I got a phone call. I was chosen as one of the finalists for the scholarship for Harvard Business School. This was an owner management executive program. All I had to do was convince the 3 judges why I deserve the scholarship in front of the entire conference of 886 people. What's scarier, getting stung by a scorpion or speaking in front of 886 people? It's a good thing that a few years earlier I had joined Toastmasters. I wrote my speech that night and I practiced it 5 or 6 times. The next morning, I woke up like it was a normal day, checked the room for scorpions, and I entered the ballroom. It was a massive ballroom. It looked a lot bigger than it did the day before. I was assigned to go 3rd out of the 4 speakers. I was so nervous. But my California chapter, the Greater Bay Area, they were there right in front and cheering me on. I knew that I was going to be very well supported. The first speaker, she read her entire speech, but she had 3 reasons of why she deserved that scholarship. She was good. The second speaker, she had props, and she was really energetic. Boy, I was getting more nervous. It was my turn. I had practiced my speech, and we were given 4 minutes. I was 4 minutes on the dot every time I practiced it. But of course, when I got up there in front of all the people, I forgot to say a few things, and I might have spoken a little too quickly. I ended at about 3 minutes and 20 seconds. And then came the hardest part, the Q&A. The judges asked me questions. And thank goodness for table topics, I was able to get through the questions with confidence and ease. Next, the 4th speaker came on. She was amazing. She was the kind of speaker that made me join Toastmasters. She was poised. She knew exactly how to speak to the audience and get them on her side. She was amazing. The judges thanked all of us for being finalists, and we went on our way. There was one more keynote speaker before they would announce the winners. I went back to my table where I saw my familiar faces and waited. Imagine my surprise when I was chosen as one of the finalists. I was going to Harvard Business School executive program. I couldn't believe it. If it wasn't for the Pittsburgh Speakeasy Toastmasters, I would not have had the confidence to even enter this kind of a scholarship, let alone prepare for a speech and speak in front of 886 people overnight. It was the Pittsburgh Speakeasy Toastmasters that helped me with my feedback and give me the confidence to succeed. When you encounter a scorpion in your life, you just have to face it. The venom isn't fatal. And when you face your fear, sometimes it takes you to a place you never thought you would be. In this case, I'm going to Harvard Business School.
Wow, what a great story.
That was an excellent speech.
What did you notice? What stuck out in her speech for you?
Well, first I'd like to say that Susie considers herself to be introverted. So vocal variety is something that she finds challenging. However, I noticed that every time she mentioned finalist, she got very passionate about it. She was very happy about that, and it showed in her speech. Also, what I liked was her pausing. She used pausing very well throughout her speech. It was great pacing of the speech.
Exactly, that's a pro-level technique, is to be able to use pauses effectively during your presentation. What's scarier than speaking in front of 886 people is speaking in front of 886 scorpions.
I agree.
At least I imagine. You know, one of the great things about these projects, whether it's in Pathways or it's the other educational program, is the chance to work on different aspects of speaking, vocal variety, gestures and body movement, organizing the speech, or speaking in front of different audiences. And I know some of the projects involve speaking on camera or speaking in front of giving a technical presentation in front of an audience, speaking in front of the media, public relations. Whatever you're trying to work on in your professional life, there's a program in our educational system to help you improve that. What have you been working on?
I've been working on motivational strategies.
Oh.
And I've completed my evaluating and feedback project as well. And what that is, you deliver a speech, and then you receive feedback on it, and then you have to incorporate the feedback that you received and polish it up and re-deliver that speech. And that's what happened tonight with Susie. She did a fantastic job.
She did. And that's another important aspect is you can give a speech and have an experience, but if you don't get feedback, you don't learn. And if you don't apply the feedback, then you don't grow.
That's right.
So we have an opportunity for people to not only learn, but to apply and grow. And that's what I think one of the things is that makes Toastmasters an outstanding learning organization.
That it is, true indeed.
Great. We're going to take a break. You're watching Toastmaster Time. We'll be back in a moment.
Name an effective political leader in history who couldn't speak well.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
There aren't any.
Because when it comes to a disease,
Freedom
like
requires leadership, and leadership requires oratory. You have to speak to be heard.
I have a dream.
It's all about personal growth and guts.
Never give in. Never, never, never.
Welcome back to Toastmaster Time, the show that's got everybody talking. I'm James Jeffley, and I'm here with our evaluator, Adrian Chofor. Adrian, one of the things I really appreciated about both of our speakers tonight is they spoke from personal experience, right?
They did.
Monique's experience with becoming a published author, and Susie's experience with speaking in front of a large group and getting that scholarship to Harvard.
Yes, and we can relate to that. You see the authenticity in that, and people can relate to it, and they say, well, if they can do it, I can do it as well.
And that's one of the things that makes an inspirational speech inspirational. It's not just lofty ideals and prose. It's the fact that this person who kind of looks like me, sounds like me, their story kind of seems like my story, they had a difficulty they learned to overcome. And now they've reached another milestone in their life. Well, if they can do it, maybe I can do it too.
I agree. And one thing I noticed with both of the speeches, they reached lofty heights, things that they never thought they would ever accomplish. Right. For example, Monique, she said in 2016, who would have thought I would be a published author?
Right.
Then,
and now she is.
Yes, she is. And Susie, Harvard? Executive program?
Speaking in front of almost 900 people.
What an achievement.
Dodging scorpions.
I think that was her friend, but I think she knows how to dodge them now.
She's got that
She has
down.
experience.
Absolutely. She could probably give a motivational speech to the scorpions and they would all march in line.
Well, if I see one, I'll call her.
Wonderful. We know who to call. Yes. Yeah, you know, Les Brown, a great motivational speaker, said we grow from people and projects. And that's really what Toastmasters is about. We've got amazing people in the organization. Everybody who comes in who wants to learn just like, you know, you or me or Monique or Susie. And we learn and grow from the projects in the Pathways program or in the other educational program. So whatever you're trying to work through to help you with your personal growth, your professional growth, there's something here for everyone.
I agree with that, and it's self-paced.
Mm-hmm.
And so you shouldn't compare yourself to someone else.
Right.
It's about your development and where you want to go.
Exactly. Well, it's been great having you on the show,
I
and that's
appreciate
all the
being
time
here.
that we have for Toastmaster Time TV. You've been watching Toastmaster Time TV. We're a program that's produced by the Media Center here in Palo Alto. If you want to learn more about the show, you can visit us on the web at toastmastertime.com. We are sponsored by District 57 Toastmasters, and to learn more about them, you can visit them on the web at d57tm.org. If you want to join Toastmasters, a club in your area, go on the web to toastmasters.org, type in your zip code, hit enter, and visit one of the many clubs nearby. I'd like to thank our two speakers, Susie Quesada, Monique McCoy, our evaluator, Adrian Chofor, and all of the wonderful staff and volunteers here at the Media Center that make Toastmaster Time possible. I'm James Jeffley. We hope to see you on another edition of Toastmaster Time. Keep talking.